Hi all, April here. A lot of people have been asking me lately about my story. What brought me to Beachbody, what happened, what it was like before, what happened, and what it's like now. I know a lot of you that sounds like another group, but anyway. I'm 35 years old from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am a almost 7-year veteran of Starbucks. And before that, I worked for American Eagle Corporate. And before that, I worked for Clinique and Azazu International Salon as a makeup artist. I grew up in just north of Pittsburgh in a town called Natrona Heights, Pennsylvania. And I lived there until I was 22. I grew up in a working middle class family. My dad was a steel worker, and my mom was a secretary at the high school where I went to school. So that was a good time. And I had a really great childhood growing up. A lot of friends, and I was very active in my school, and I loved it. I loved where I grew up. I had a really great time. I went away to college. I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania and realized early on that college really wasn't for me. While I was away at college, my parents always were like, I was so lucky because my parents were always like really in love with each other. So I was always grateful because that wasn't common. And it was really cool for me because parents were always getting divorced, and I didn't have to deal with that. Went away to school, is when my parents hit their patch and decided that they were no longer going to be married. And being the only child of my parents, that was like taking a bullet, and I didn't handle it too well. Went off the deep end a little bit, drinking and drugs and partying and in and out of different relationships and not necessarily picking the right people to be in relationships with. Wasn't hanging out with the best group of friends, and life became different. My mom moved out. It was me and my dad. And again, it was just hard for me. So I started to go down a really rough road. I got into a relationship. It was pretty serious. And then on my birthday, I was freshly 22. And on my birthday, after a night of partying, we got home and he decided to break up with me. And again, this is right when my parents were splitting and things were changing, and it was like my world was crashing down around me. So one day I decided to take a bottle of Tylenol PM and wash it down with some vodka. Early on, right after I did that, I quickly decided that that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I was like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. So I went and made myself throw up. I thought I threw it all up. Well, apparently I didn't, because I woke up 3 weeks later with a new liver. My liver died, my kidneys failed, my lungs collapsed. Freshly 22 years old. And I was really grateful. I was in a coma for that time, but I got a liver from a 47-year-old man from Philadelphia. It was harder on my family than it was on me in the moment because I wasn't aware of what was going on. I was in a coma, so I didn't know how many times I'd almost just died. In that time where they had to say goodbye to me on more than one occasion, they were told I had no time left. And luckily, the liver did come in. So I woke up from my coma, and another time, all of a sudden, life was different. And I had a scar in my stomach. They call it the Mercedes-Benz incision because it's like that. And I had drains everywhere, and yeah, I was in the intensive care unit in Presby, and I didn't understand what the hell happened. Talk about culture shock. So I had to start over and learn how to live life now, not being 100% completely me anymore. It's a really weird feeling to know that you have somebody else's body part in your body. A lot of people don't know what that feels like. I do. So I would go around to high schools and things, and I would talk to kids about the importance of not drinking and suicide and all of that good stuff, and how to change your life. However, life for me, I was showing people one thing, but something else was going on back here. I was very unhappy and very depressed on the inside. So it'll be 3 years this December that my dad, the love of my life, my hero and provider forever. 2 days before Christmas, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer and given 2 years to live. I did not handle that news well at all. How can you put a timeline on the life of my person? So I went off the deep end. Let me backtrack a little bit. Coming up this summer, it'll be 7 years that I've been with my significant other, Paul. He is my everything. He's good people. We've been together a long time, and he makes me want to be a better person. And because of him, we have a beautiful home and animals, and we don't have children. We have cats, and that works for us, and we love it. But yeah, when my dad got diagnosed with the pancreatic cancer, I didn't give a shit about anything. So I went off the deep end again, and I was drinking like a fish and just crying all the time. I couldn't get it together. And I was working for Starbucks, and anytime anybody would ask me about my dad, I would break down and start to cry. I was a supervisor and like crying at work, and I'm not handling things well at all. So my dad pulled me aside at one point, and he said, I'm the one that's fighting for my life here, and you're the one who has given up and decided that you're not going to live anymore. Because I honestly didn't understand how I was going to make it without my dad. My dad was my get out of jail free card. My dad was my unconditional support and love always. I mean, I have my mom too, but my dad and I were like the same person. We had a different language all to ourselves. I was his girl. And yeah, the thought of turning an hourglass on his life just wasn't okay with me. But he told me, he's like, you have to get it together, because my biggest fear right now is you, and that my biggest fear and my biggest worry needs to be on my treatment and getting okay. So I decided the best thing for me to do would be to take a leave of absence from Starbucks, a family medical leave, and get some serious help for myself. In this process of my dad getting diagnosed, I gained about 45 pounds. I was 100 and almost 90 pounds at this point, the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And I was just incredibly unhappy. So I took this leave of absence. I took 4 months off from work. I went and saw my therapist 3 days a week. I was struggling with severe anxiety and depression. I was afraid to drive my car. I was afraid to go out in public. What are people thinking of me because I made all these bad choices recently as far as how I was handling this news? So I was afraid to leave my house. I would stay inside. And it just wasn't good. So in these 4 months, I saw my therapist 3 days a week, and I saw my dad all of the other times. I used that time to take him to his treatments and to just spend time with him. And I'm grateful for it, because we had the chance to really talk and connect even more than we needed to, because there's never been anything unsaid between me and my dad. So it was just a time just to be. Again, I would take him to his treatments, and that was pretty special. And I would sit there with him for 4 or 5 hours while he got his treatments. And we would talk and laugh, and I would try to be his comic relief in the day and make him laugh and smile, or I would rub his back when he was sick and, just be there for him. So, but I had to get back to work. 4 months off. My dad was stable sort of at that point, so I decided to go back to work. I switched stores, so I wouldn't have to answer a lot of questions about like where I'd been and stuff. And I decided to get off my butt. I started to like ride my bike with Paul. He's always been about health and fitness, and I was always the person to sit around. I'd rather sit on the couch, drink beer, and watch football. Again, I'm like the son my dad didn't have around. So it was pretty amazing. But Paul, he just been after me for years to like get on the fitness train with him, just get off my butt and enjoy the outdoors and that kind of thing. And again, I wasn't interested. I was always comfortable in my skin as far as how I looked. I knew that I wasn't a skinny girl or a fit girl, but like I was okay with that. I thought I was still cute and stuff, but looking back on those pictures, I'm not really sure. But so I started to get active and I fell in love with it. Like immediately, like riding our bikes and stuff, being in nature. And I found that while riding my bike, it was also really good therapy because nobody can hear you scream and cry that much in the woods. And so I would use it as just ride my bike and feel the nature and feel the wind on my face and look at all the beautiful things around me and take it all in and try and deal with my grief at the same time. So I was back at work now and I loved my new store. It was great. And I was doing a lot better. My dad was really proud of me, but he was declining and he was declining fast. In August of 2015, he went under permanent hospice care and he was at home. And I lost him in October 7th of 2015. He took his last breath with me there with him, which was his wish. And I held his hand and looked in his eyes, and that was it. And it was awful and beautiful at the same time because I gave him what he wanted. And it was also beautiful because we had all of that time together, and I have no regrets today. There was nothing left unsaid. There was nothing I needed to say to him. No stone left unturned. I have no regrets as far as how much time I spent with him. I gave it all I had. And I know that I was a good daughter for him. And when he passed away, I was beginning to be in a good place. My coach, Nikki, had been after me my friend Nikki, who's now my coach, had been after me for about 5 years to join Beachbody. And I just wasn't interested. I'm like, Beachbody. I'm like, I don't want to work out. That's just not me. And, but now life was different now. So I no longer was drinking and smoking and things like that. And I was really enjoying being outside and getting fit. And I needed something else in my life. And I felt like Beachbody was the natural progression. So I told her sure. And I ordered the 21-day fix and I started a challenge group. Because with 21-day fix, 30 minutes a day for 21 days. I've never committed to anything in my life. So I was like, I can do that and I'll drink these shakes or whatever. Then I was in her challenge group. Well, that was it for me. Life changed again and did a complete 180. And this time it was amazing. And I fell in love with Beachbody, and I fell in love with Nikki even more for being there for me and being a wonderful coach and guiding me into this thing that was missing in my life. And now I'm 5 months into being a Beachbody coach, and I've lost 50 total pounds in about a year, in like 2 months. And I have never been happier in my life. And I'm doing this all to make my dad proud because his biggest fear is whether or not I would be okay. And sure enough, I'm okay. And I'm proud today to say that. And it's because of him and his showing me that I can do anything. And I feel like if I can make it through losing him and rising victorious through that grief, I could have went one of two ways and I chose to go to the right. And I'm really grateful for that and grateful to Beachbody because I don't know where I'd be today if I would have gone the opposite way. I don't think I would have Paul. I don't think that I would have this beautiful home. I don't think that I would have made and reconnected with the people that I have in my life and had all of the good friends and support. My mom is so proud of me today, and it makes me feel so good to see her beam and be proud of her kid again and to see where I am today. And that's why I just wanted to share with you all, and that's what brought me to Beachbody today. And I know that there's some of you out there who have dealt with addiction in your life and loss and been in different areas in your life with your health and your mental health. And just want you to know that I'm here too, and I've been through it as well. So thanks for listening to me, and I hope you have a great day. And thanks so much. Peace.